Hello and welcome to Westminster Shorter Catechism Revo on question number 4. What is God? God is a spirit, infinite, eternal, and unchangeable in his being, wisdom, power, holiness, justice, goodness, and truth. In question number 3, we asked what scriptures principally teach, and we remember it gives us two answers, what we are to believe concerning God, and what duty God then requires of us. And those two questions are the Christian life. So that's what the rest of the Shorter Catechism is going to answer. And with today's question, we are answering the granddaddy of all questions. We are directly asking, what is the Godhead? What is God? This is what sometimes theologians refer to as theology proper, because it is of utmost importance that we understand the attributes of God before we work out more details of who he is and how he works in creation and nature. That question, what is God? I think every person has honestly asked that at some point in their lives. And people have tried to answer that in many different ways. In pop culture, back in the 16th century, we have Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel ceiling, just this majestic depiction of biblical history in the book of Genesis. And at the center of it is that picture of God reaching out to man, and though they are close, there's still that distance between them that shows that the man can never understand the full nature of who God is. And of course, that artwork set the set the standard for what people would think of when they think of God. You know, this bearded figure, old man figure. We see that later in pop culture references. One of my favorite cartoons growing up is The Simpsons, and I remember God being depicted like that. And it was interesting because all the Simpsons characters had 4 fingers, but God had 5 fingers. Maybe you watch Bruce Almighty and your thought of God is the actor Morgan Freeman, because he has that voice, that special voice, and so sounds so wise. And we think about God in those ways. We look at how God is shown in culture, and they're all wrong. They're all wrong according to what the Bible says God is. Because, as the Catechism question says, what is God? God is a spirit. God is a spirit. We, on the other hand, we are material. We have a spirit, but we also have a physical body. God, on the other hand, does not have a physical body. So he is material. We cannot see God, even though God is indeed real. And so what are ways that we can understand God who is spirit? How is he revealed? Well, the question answers that, the Catechism answers that. God is a spirit who is infinite, eternal, and unchangeable. Sorry for the squeaks. He is infinite, eternal, and unchangeable. He is without limit, without any boundaries in size, in ability, in power. We talk about God's omnipresence, his omnipotence. That's his infiniteness. In terms of time, he is infinite, which means he has no beginning or end. So he is eternal, and he is without change. He is always the same. And we can understand those as concepts, but we don't understand them fully in experience. Why? Because we are finite. We are temporal. We're limited in time, and we, of course, are changeable. We change our minds all the time. And so we can understand who God is by understanding who we are and what we are not. God is spirit, we are material. Now, God has communicated some of his attributes to us. We remember Genesis chapter 1, 2, and 3, where we are made in the image and the likeness of God. And so the question talks about these attributes that we have by which we can understand something of who God is. We have power, holiness, justice, goodness, and truth. So we are created with being, with wisdom, with power, with holiness, with justice, with goodness, and with truth. And so if you would allow me to just kind of draw these circles here. God is infinite in his being, wisdom, power, holiness, justice, goodness, truth. He is eternal in all these things. He is unchangeable in all these things. Whereas we, on the other hand, there we go. We are finite in our being, wisdom, power, holy. We're limited in these things. We are temporal. We're limited by time in the expression of these things. And of course, we are so changeable. And so we can understand something of God, but only to a certain extent, because of course, by nature, God is someone other than us. And so I hope this helps you. A very informative, very well-written, thoughtful, thorough question. If you look at our bulletin, our church bulletin, you could see the reference verses and look them up for all these attributes. But here's my takeaway activity for you. Go ahead and just pick any combination of these and learn about God on your own time. So let's say you want to do infinite, and you want to think of God as an infinite being. What does that mean? He's infinite in his existence. He's infinite in his power, omnipotent. He's infinite in his holiness. His holiness knows no end. He's infinite in his justice. And you can do this with anything. He's eternal in his power. He's unchangeable in his holiness. He's unchangeable in his justice. And as you reflect on this, you learn more about who God is. And you could do the opposite and learn more about yourself by thinking on how you are finite in your being. We're all dying. You're finite in your wisdom. You don't know everything. You're finite in your power. There's only so much you can do. You're finite in your holiness. You're changeable in your holiness. You're changeable in your truth. Very helpful for us to understand what is God. We'll see you next time.